Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we are gonna be by we I mean me and one of my best friends, Wes.
Yay!
Wesley or whatever. Anyways, so what we're gonna be doing is there's this channel called Llama Arts, right? And what they do is they make horror stories, but they're not really horror stories. They're more like kind of just scary animated stuff. But some of them are pretty freaky. But anyways, so the video is gonna be like around half an hour. We did the math, and stuff like that. So if you're one of those people that gets scared from everything and that has trouble going to bed, then watch it anyways, because I said, or this horror thing will happen to you, huh? You don't want that, do you? Huh? All right. Anyways, I'm sorry. So yeah, let's start. And this one's not really that scary, so we're starting off kind of easy for you guys.
It's worse.
Yeah, it does. All right, well, let's do it.
Worse, but...
Let's do it.
This happened when I was 17 years old. I would go to the gym.
Sorry. We're gonna just start that over again.
3 to 4 times. This happened when I was 17 years old. I would go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week and ride the bus home. It was a Sunday and I had just missed my bus, so I had to wait longer for another one. I would have called my parents, but they were out for the evening, and taxis charged more, so I decided to sit and wait in the bus shelter. It was a cold night and snow had just started peppering the ground. My bus was taking longer than usual, so I got my phone out and listened to some music.
Yeah, and how you're not cold totally makes sense.
Almost an hour had passed. It was freezing and I hadn't seen anyone at all. That was until I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. It was a creepy guy dressed in thick layers of clothing, walking slowly towards me. I knew staring at him would draw more attention, so I just focused on my phone.
Yes, smart guy.
He sat down at the other end of the shelter and just stared at me. There was something off about him.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was either drunk or on drugs.
Both of them, times 10.
He then asked,
"When is the bus due?"
Look at his teeth.
When does the bus
due? I took out my
due?
earphones and said,
"I think it's delayed because of the snow."
He stared at me for a while, then started mumbling to himself. He was really starting to creep me out, so I pretended to be on my phone. After a couple of minutes, I took another look. He'd moved closer to me. I looked away for a second,
I think he likes you,
and heard
buddy.
the sound of him sliding even closer.
Oh, he's weird.
I turned to him and said,
"You okay there?"
No.
He stared at me with glossy eyes,
Run.
lifted his arm and leaned towards me. Immediately, I grabbed my bag and ran as he fell to the ground. I ran down the road trying my hardest not to look
First and
back.
only.
I kept going until I got to the next bus stop. I turned around to check to see if he was there.
Why are you so big now?
He was gone, so I went to sit down. Feeling relieved, I rested my head on the back of the glass
Don't go
and
to
waited for the
sleep.
bus. I jolted and turned around to see the same.
Okay, first of all, if you're that weird man, why would you knock?
Yeah, right?
What, like, what's going on? He has 4 fingers, and he has a bandage. One of his fingers was a
guy staring at me through the glass.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I don't know.
Then he started walking around the shelter towards me.
Run.
I'm warning you, stay back.
Take your...
I yelled in panic as I was backing up. I wanted to run, but I left my bag in the shelter and I couldn't leave without it. Suddenly, the man leaped at me and I quickly moved out of the way.
Wow, that's
He fell to the ground face first. I froze in shock, then noticed the blood coming from his face.
Wow.
I tried to get a response out of him,
Wow,
but
just leave
nothing
him.
worked.
Don't take
I called the
pity on him.
police and paramedics and they arrived shortly after. I told them what had happened and they told me that the guy was on prescription drugs.
How they
They
know?
found a photo in his wallet of him and his son.
Actually,
The boy
wow,
looked just
that's
like
creepy.
me, so we assumed he thought I was him.
Why would
I
he
later
beep at his own
learned that he had
son?
lost his son in a custody battle and went off the rails. He was taken away for treatment. That was the last I saw of him.
Okay, guys, Easter egg.
I got my
Watch
driver's
the
license
background
shortly after,
of the
and
forest.
have never been on a bus.
Oh my god, do you see that?
Right there.
Look at that. Look at the mouse. Do you see that face in the background? that's creepy.
Sense.
Jeez. And yep, that's the first one. So
Oh, and I had merch.
yeah, me neither.
I
Anyways,
want that.
so you guys, that was probably the least scary one you're gonna
next.
probably the least scary one you're gonna see. Now we're gonna show you my personal favorite
And mine.
and his. Yeah. This one's I love it. And we're obviously gonna make like a part 2, maybe even a part 3 to these.
Yeah.
As you saw, it's only. Anyway, so yeah, this is the second one. This one's 8 minutes exactly. I like this one a lot.
Whatever you call it, yeah.
Did you get your field trip report?
Yeah,
done
this
for
is
tomorrow?
really scary.
I haven't finished it.
We're not sponsored.
This happened when I was 15 years old.
Why are they always below 18? That's not.
My best friend Anthony wanted me to come over for the night since his parents would be gone all weekend. I rode my bike over and put it in his backyard before letting myself in through his back door. We played basically every video game he had, from FIFA all the way to Call of Duty, with popcorn and other junk food spilled out all over the floor. As the night progressed, we moved from video games to watching half a movie and getting bored, to doing prank calls at close to 10 o'clock. Anthony made a few calls to different pizza places. When it was my turn, I just dialed a few random numbers in hopes to get someone at their house.
Yeah, these guys are smart.
On, say, my 4th attempt, I finally reached somebody. A guy with a deep and rough voice picked up, answering with a yeah instead of a hello.
Yeah.
Anthony's laughing in the back.
Like someone calls you, pretend to call me, Wes. Say,
Hello.
no, just call me. Pretend I'm gonna pick up the phone, okay? Yeah. Like no. Okay, yeah, let's continue.
It made me stumble with my words mid-sentence, ultimately cracking up into laughter.
Look at his eyes. They're triangles with dots in the middle. Is that not Illuminati?
I had never done a prank call, so I sucked at it. The guy on the other end was silent.
Look at his lips.
I regained a straight face and tried to continue with the call. It went something like this. Sir, would it be alright if I borrowed one of the wheels from your car? What's your name, kid? My
How do you know he's a kid?
Bob.
Oh.
Really?
What's his voice?
You sure it's not Anthony?
Yeah, that's
It hit me like a brick. I looked up at Anthony, whose face was noticeably full of fear. I hung up the phone, not wanting to be on the line with whoever that was for another second. Anthony, who the hell was that? I asked him.
You should know.
I don't know, he told me.
How would he know?
Does your caller ID info display your name or something? No, it shows my dad's name.
What if his name's Anthony?
We hopped on the computer and did some research, trying to figure out how it was possible to get someone's name through their phone number. It didn't make sense how he could get Anthony's name so quickly.
Okay, why in every room do they have these weird green plants? What the?
He was way too young at the time to be on any of those personal information sharing websites. We ended up asking a question on Yahoo Answers, since no one had a similar experience. The question turned up no answers. I suggested he call his dad, but he said he wasn't supposed to have anybody over for the weekend, so he didn't want to call.
Bro, it's either... Okay, you know what?
We planned on sleeping in the living room, so we just resumed watching the movie that we hadn't finished from earlier. Right after the phone call had left my mind, me and Anthony looked at each other when we heard his front storm door opening, and then the doorknob to the front door began to turn. It only was able to turn about halfway before the lock restricted it. Anthony turned off the TV, and I went over to the window to see who it was. I spread the blinds open. There was a tall guy standing outside.
He looks weird.
He noticed the blinds moving, and turned to look at me.
Okay, whose eyes are like...
I practically threw the blinds back into place. Me and Anthony hid in the kitchen, listening for any more noises. We heard the sound of the gate to the backyard opening, as it was right outside the kitchen window. God damn it, I said. I forgot to shut the back door.
You're just dumb. You're just so dumb. See, look, Anthony has kind of okay eyes, and then he's
trying to sabotage.
Right?
He's trying to let his associate in.
Oh, God.
Anthony urged me to run and shut it.
No, Anthony, real slick of him. He's just sitting there like, you go close the door and get killed. I don't care.
I made it to the hallway leading to his back door, and froze. There was a silhouette standing outside the back door.
Grabbed a knife first. first.
I don't think he noticed me,
Well,
but
why not?
he was surely
Let's get
looking
up,
into
grab
the house. He opened the door and stepped inside. I tiptoed to the kitchen and motioned for Anthony to follow me
Wait a
upstairs.
minute, what's the date? Oh no, wait.
I to the house back door
Oops.
and motioned for Anthony.
Okay, what date is it? Okay, October 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 22nd of October.
Mhm.
Okay, guys, on the 22nd of October, lock all your doors, okay? Just saying. Or what?
To follow me upstairs.
You.
We made it to his room as quietly as possible, pulling the door shut to avoid
Sorry.
making any noise.
Spider
We
web.
crawled under his bed. He had cloth covering the bottom of his bed, so you couldn't see anything under it unless you actually moved the cloth.
Cool.
The doors downstairs all opened, each one getting closer to the
Okay, why does he have this weird thing of hair
Yeah, right?
hanging down?
stairs. Thumps finally began up the stairs, and he was right outside the door now.
Creepy.
The door to the room opened.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. No.
I could hear Anthony's breathing. It was too loud.
Look at his eyes.
Footsteps moved over to the closet, and then the closet opened. I could hear the coat hangers being slid around as the fabric of the jackets and coats rubbed against each other.
Rub.
Footsteps moved over to the bed and stopped.
And you're dead, guys.
I felt like my
Stop
heart was about
breathing.
to explode out of my chest. Anthony's breathing was too loud.
Anthony, shut up.
I had to cover his mouth with my hand.
Yeah.
Nothing but silence in the room now. We laid still for so long, I almost thought he wasn't even in the room anymore.
Why?
I moved my hand away from Anthony's mouth and whispered in his ear, "You think we can make a run for
Okay,
it?"
first of all, that's not a whisper. That's like, do you think we can make a run for it? Okay, he's gonna hear that. Second of all, if you didn't hear the door close, he's still in the room. Okay, sorry.
Maybe he didn't close the door.
He was about to answer when the most disturbing, memory-haunting scream I'd ever heard filled my ears as Anthony was seemingly dragged out from under the bed.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my
I
god.
crawled out and saw him struggling with the man.
Oh wow.
I desperately looked around for anything to use as a weapon. I settled with a screwdriver.
Okay, so, you could have just grabbed a knife, but instead you used a screwdriver. Yeah, no, give him a clap. Just give him
Why
a
is
clap.
this kid have a screwdriver on his?
Yeah, okay, this is his parents' bedroom.
Was sitting on his nightstand. I hurried over to the man and drove the screwdriver into his back.
Ouch.
He let go of Anthony as he let out a scream of agony, giving us time to get the hell out of the house.
Seriously, it's creepy.
Running onto the road would give away our position too easily.
He
It would
runs
take too
forward.
long to make it to his neighbor's house. We dove for the tree line in the
okay.
woods and took cover behind a bush, watching the house.
Okay,
The
duck
back door
down.
opened as the man stepped outside, looking around the backyard.
I used to look over.
He then
but
looked
I
out
look
to the
around
woods.
it.
I felt his eyes pass me
So
as he
duck
scanned
down.
through the tree line.
Oh, God.
It seemed that it was too
But
dark
he's
for him
already
to see
looking
us.
for you.
Then,
If he's already looking for you and you move, he might notice that there's something moving and it might give you away.
That's true.
And if he's quiet enough, you might not see him because you're ducking down.
he turned his head back in our direction. I ducked behind the bush. Joe, he's coming. What? Dude, get up, we gotta run. He was right. The man was approaching us fast. How could he have seen us?
Because he's... Okay, shouldn't you know by now that he's like a magical freak? And second of all, that is not his hair. That's just...
We ran through the woods with
He's
the
like
leaves
super
crunching
thin.
under us, giving away our position. When Anthony tripped over something, I crouched down with him.
In every horror story, there's just something. There's always the kid who falls. Like, just keep your balance.
Hoping we had run far enough. Not even 20 seconds later, oncoming footsteps from the direction we were running from came fast. They slowed down only 2 trees away from us as we lay face down in the leaves. Moments later, the footsteps take off in another direction. We waited until we could no longer hear them and took off back in the direction
He's not stupid.
of the house. While running, over the sound of leaves crushing and my heavy breathing, I could swear I heard leaves crushing from behind us. We made it back to his backyard, into his house,
And shut the
and
door.
this time remembering to shut the back door.
Alright, genius.
We were now able to call the police. Anthony stayed on the line with them, while I patrolled the back windows, making sure nobody was out there.
Okay, so this is the main lesson that I've learned from this story. Anthony's a wimp. He's like, all right, dude, you go shut the door and I'll stay here and be safe. And he's like, okay, I'll stay in the room and the couch with the police and you go patrol. And then he's like, and then he fell and then he's the one breathing too loud. Like, I'd rather be Joe, not this Anthony.
It was so dark though, I couldn't see anything. So I did something that seems stupid today. I turned on his backyard lights.
Alright, now they're just both dumb. Like, seriously, I'd just rather be the hooded figure in this.
And immediately in the distance, over by the woods, I saw him, standing in front of a big tree. He turned off back into the woods and disappeared.
If he had just waited and just be like, if he's there, I want to make him run away. So, I'm going to not do that.
Why are you
out of sight. That was the last time me or Anthony ever saw him.
Good.
I would be lying if I told you we heard the occasional knocks at our windows or something cliche. No, that was it. 5 years have passed.
Sorry. Okay, why are you in the... Wait, one sec.
His hair looks better.
Okay, guys, why are you guys in the same exact room pretty much? It looks like the same room, except the rug's different, the wall cover is different, the couch is different, and you guys are different because you're older.
His
But,
hair
like,
is
it's
way
the
better.
same exact room.
Like, so much better. Both their hair are way better.
And
Yeah.
nothing has happened.
No.
Do I wonder if it was somehow linked to the prank call?
Duh.
Maybe. Does it make sense? Not really. But yeah, this was the story of how me and my still best friend Anthony almost died during a break-in.
Died. I think that's a little too far-fetched. He didn't have anything on him. Alright, well, that's that one. And now, just because we're in the holiday cheer, even though it's like a month after Christmas, let's watch a creepy Christmas time story, animated. This one's not really that scary, but whatever. I like it.
It was November of 2006. I was a
Wait a minute, that's my birthday. No, it's not.
year-old kid living in the town of Altoona, Iowa. I went to bed early one night because I had to work the early shift at McDonald's. As I slept, I had a dream that I was running through downtown Des Moines, but I wasn't on
and everything's all red, huh?
jog.
That makes sense.
I was running from something.
What?
As I ran around the corner of a building, I
That guy
came
literally looks exactly like the guy from the bus
face to
stop
face
story.
with my pursuer.
Kind of.
A tall man wearing a trench coat and a top hat stood in front of me.
His eyes.
The only thing visible of his face was his eyes. They were abnormally large with black pupils, and it looked at me as if it wanted something. After what felt like hours, he reached out his bony hand, as if he wanted me to go with him. I woke up violently from my dream, and after catching my breath, I peered around my room to see if
Even after I have those bad dreams, I don't sit up. I lie in bed like, I'll be safe under my covers.
I was safe. As I stood up from my bed, I noticed that I could see my breath.
Okay, that's the first sign of madness, seeing your own breath in your bedroom.
Feeling confused, I checked my window. It was latched shut.
No.
I then walked over and checked my vent. I could still feel warm air coming from it. As I sat back down on my bed, I tried to figure out what exactly was going on. That's when the figure from my dream appeared at the foot of my
Second sign of madness, seeing creepy figures at the end of your bed.
bed.
Look at his
I
eyes.
scrambled back to my headboard.
What do you want?
I asked, trying to hide the shakiness in my voice.
He's not a hunchback. Not that there's anything wrong with being a hunchback, but like,
I'm a hunchback.
yeah.
With the same bony finger,
Wow.
it pointed at me.
Bony fingers.
Growing up in a religious home, I believed what I was looking at was a demon.
Mm-hmm.
I told the creature to leave.
Yeah,
It just waved its finger at me, and with a low voice, it spoke to me.
Never leave. Always here.
Bro, it's like he wants to kiss
The creature
me. Look
then
at his
screamed
pupils.
loudly
What the heck?
and disappeared. A feeling of nausea came over me, and I vomited on my floor.
Why
The
is
last
his
thing I
heart black?
remember was cleaning myself up and waking up to my alarm.
Crap.
It's been about a month since I had seen the top hat wearing man in my bedroom. The Christmas season was in full effect. My parents weren't home because they got invited to some kind of event, so it was only me and my 3 sisters at home. I had to wake up early in the morning for work, so I decided to go to sleep.
Y'all.
I rested my head on my pillow and closed my eyes. Not even 30 seconds passed until my sisters burst into my room and started singing obnoxious songs.
Oh my god.
This of course made me very angry, but I thought if I ignored them that they would leave me alone.
You're obviously wrong, bud.
This was not the case. As I pulled
They
the
don't look like sisters, but alright.
blankets over my head, I started to feel the same cold feeling that
See,
I...
okay, look at the sister. She's like, oh my god, her eyes are like the top hat man. Okay, I have a theory. She's the top hat man. Nice.
had November. As the obnoxious singing subsided, I lowered the blanket below my eyes and saw the man standing in the corner of my room. In one swift motion, he charged towards me,
Oh, he's
and I blacked
ass.
out.
Okay.
When I finally came to, I found that my sisters had locked themselves inside the bathroom. As I knocked on the door, they told me to go away. I asked them what happened, and all they could say was Mom and Dad were on their way home. I looked down and saw that my hand was slightly bloody. Holes were in the bathroom door,
Ow.
and a broom was sticking out of the wall. I then walked into the living room and found that there were knives stuck into the wall as well.
Goodness.
The same wave
Oh,
of
he was-
nausea passed over me, just like in November, and I threw up again. As I was cleaning up, my parents walked through the door. My father immediately walked over to me and gave me a good beating. Then he sent me to my room.
Don't beat
I
your
went to
kid.
bed crying, not from the
When
beating.
was this?
I
1900?
was crying because of the confusion. I had no idea what was going on.
Who does?
The next morning, my sisters reluctantly sat next to me and told me what had happened.
Oof.
They said I got angry and chased them down and tried to hurt them.
His
They
eyes.
said my
Yeah.
eyes were red to the point where they thought I was bleeding from them.
God.
They said I sounded like a different person. In 2011,
Wow.
that was the last time I saw
This
the
was 2011. I'm guessing you live in America or something because you speak English, and your dad gave you a
top
beating.
hat wearing
Okay, alright.
man.
Okay, this is the same house from another horror story. Just saying.
I just moved into a new apartment, and after a long, stressful day of unpacking, I took a shower and got ready for bed.
Oh my gosh, he moved into a new apartment just now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the same place as another horror story that we're not going to go over today.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
As I started to drift off, I could feel that cold feeling again.
Oh my gosh.
I'd be like,
I lifted
oh,
my head and saw the man standing in front of me.
Not again.
The
Ours
man's
isn't red.
eyes were red now. With a low voice, just like on that November night, it looked at me and said,
never,
Leave.
always.
Always here.
I always mix it up, like, where it's like, always here, never leave.
Alright.
No, but if I heard something, if that happened to me, and I started seeing my own breath again, I wouldn't even look up. I didn't have the guts to do it.
Yeah, right. Okay, now we're doing the lockdown one, number 1. School lockdown stories.
This one's not that
Anyways, this one's pretty easy.
bad. It's better.
3 minutes, 15 seconds.
It was a typical boring day in calculus, only it was Friday, 7th period, meaning the week was almost over and spring break would finally be upon
This guy's on his phone.
us. So everybody was getting antsy in their seats, I could tell. We didn't have a test that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers, so our teacher in the middle of class just decided to start playing games with us on Sporkle.com. He was a very laid-back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz on Sporkle, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right after my friend answered a question, I remember the exact answer too, Adidas. The dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he told all the teachers this was not
Wait a minute, does it normally move? When
a
you're talking?
drill and to go into lockdown. I actually got the chills, and I got goosebumps on my arms as our usually laid-back teacher too seemed panicked as he ran to turn off the lights and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We all sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back of the room ceased. indicating that the school must have cut all the power. We all looked at each other, realizing this must be serious.
Now
A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs coming down the hallway. 2 girls in the class actually started crying, which made all of us even more scared. As the screaming got closer to the classroom, the lunatic-sounding man started banging on the lockers while screaming, "I'll kill all of you."
Wow.
It was at that moment that I started to fear for my life. My teacher shushed us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers to our classroom door, and that's when one of the crying girls screamed no.
Oh my, yeah, that's just give it up. Nice. And look at the guy. He's like, oh god, that's alright.
The banging on the door only grew worse as the man started
Chipped teeth. Oh god.
screaming, "Open up." 2 of the girls in the class were crying out loud now. It felt like an eternity that man was pounding at the door, but eventually he finally continued down the hallway, screaming like a mentally insane person until we could not hear him anymore. I'd say 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour given the situation, the dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that some apparently mentally unstable person entered the building and assaulted the woman sitting at the front desk, causing her to flee the building screaming, and staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now this was before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed the teachers to resume teaching but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reasons. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumors...
Okay, no, but what I don't get is why they'd let the school go back to its normal running if they didn't know where the man was. Like, didn't they do a good sweep of the school?
That's why they locked the doors. So.
Yeah.
...that were spread by my peers. Sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum.
Ooh.
The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example, leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on the scene, the man was gone.
Wow.
My entire class, as far as I know, to this day, has no idea if this man was ever found.
Just use his DNA.
But I like to think that right now, he's being given the proper help that he needs.
I don't like to think that. I like to think he's dead. Alright, so there's that one, and then we're just gonna do one more.
The ghost one is right there. Okay, whatever.
We're not doing the ghost one, remember? We're doing the camping one.
Oh, right.
Remember?
No, we're doing the camping one and... Okay,
No, we're doing the camping one now. Wait a minute. We're doing that part too. Anyways, where's the... Oh, remember the hunting one?
Oh, yeah.
We'll do that later. Anyways, like, not in this video. Okay, alright. This one... Okay, so we're gonna be watching a true camping one. I'm just saying, camping's the best, so keep going camping. Camping's awesome. Alright, well.
So me and a couple of my buddies went camping last summer alongside the Willamette River. We actually had a decent hike into the deep end of woods. We did some night fishing, listening to music, and basically drank to the point where everything was funny later in the night. I would guess we finally called it a night somewhere past 2 a.m. I shared a tent with one of my buds, while the other 2 shared another tent. We heard them laughing about something.
This guy looks like a clown.
At first we laughed at the sound of their laughing, but it soon got annoying and we yelled for them to shut up. One of them responded, "It isn't us."
Alright, that's creepy by itself.
I sat up, startled at the response. I came to realize that it was the sound of only one person laughing, and it didn't sound like either one of my friends.
That's when you know it's a clown.
Even in my drunk state, I realized how odd it was for somebody to be out this far in the woods so late at night. The laughing gradually got closer and louder to our campout.
Both of you.
My friend shot up and looked at me with a worried look on his face. I heard my other friends scream over to us that they were getting freaked out.
Yeah.
As the laughing got even closer, I could make it out very clearly to be the laugh of a male, probably in his 30s or 40s. He sounded like he was as drunk as us, messing around with friends, but we only heard his laugh, nobody else. There was something indescribably creepy about his laugh too, as if it was missing something to it. You had to be there to understand what I mean. The laughing was now just at the edge of our campsite, but we couldn't hear any footsteps at all. Now that may not seem like a big deal. It was impossible to move through that without making noise. And finally, all of a sudden, the laughing stopped completely.
Good.
We had no idea where whoever that was standing, as he hadn't made a single stepping sound. We sat there in silence looking at each other. My friend was clearly freaking out, but he was keeping it together the best he could. Finally, something broke the silence. The sound of something rubbing against the cottony fabric of the tent.
Ooh.
We saw the outline of a hand through...
See, why everyone has 4 fingers totally makes sense, huh? And then, also, I know this isn't true, but, so you see these, like, lines at the top of his fingers? Those are obviously, like, just the creases and stuff in the motion of him moving his hand down and stuff. But it looks like nails.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Looks like my nails.
Show me your nails. Oh God, yeah they do. Yeah. Oh yeah.
the moonlight, pressing on the tent.
Oh my God. Why are you laughing?
We saw the outline of a hand through the moonlight, pressing on the tent.
God. I'm gonna beat you with. I hope you guys find this as humorous as this weirdo sitting next to me. Stop it. Just please. You're making me freak out. Anyways, yeah, look at his tongue. That's really. And look at. Oh my god. See? Oh, what the heck?
Tent. We both screamed at the top of our lungs before getting out of the tent. We ran as fast as we could through the woods, our other friends following us. After about 5 minutes of running, we somehow found our car.
Yeah, and let's just ditch all of our stuff back there. Yeah, genius.
I actually puked from running so much before taking the wheel. I don't condone drinking
We just took off without those other 2 kids. Like, ah, nerd.
and driving, but I still believe we were just in this situation. By far the most horrific
Wait, what's his license plate?
driving, but I still believe we were just in this situation. By far
Lizard to your burn.
the most horrific experience of my life. No idea who or what the hell that was, or what they wanted.
Whoa.
Do the thunder symbol.
That's it. No. No. Sure? Yeah, no. Hopefully you didn't hear that, but anyways, so I think that's probably gonna be the end. Make sure to look out for our part 2. We're gonna probably release it right after this video, actually, because we have more time. I'm not sure though. Anyways, hope you didn't get too freaked out. Hope you can go to sleep tonight. Oh yeah, you do. Of course he does. Well, you're mentally.
Hope you got freaked out. Hope you can't go to sleep tonight.
So
I couldn't.
Yeah, you died the first time I saw it. No, but actually, we're gonna.
The Christmas one was creepy at first.
The Christmas one, yeah, but then we watched it so many times.
This is like our 3rd time.
Oh, it's like our 5th time. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to look out for part 2 and part 3 and part 4 and part 5 and part 6. No kidding. Yeah.
I should start watching these at home again.
See you next time. Bye.